Good day, everyone. I am your teacher, Mrs. Leah Bagalihog, in Practical Research 2. For this session, we're going to have an introduction. There are many things you want to learn in this world. We have lots of questions about people, things, places, events. Their characteristics or qualities make you wonder continuously, frequently, or intermittently. Marveling at them, you tend to immerse yourself in a situation where you seem to be grappling with a problem or a puzzle, as if this thing bothering your mind or puzzling your mind, you want it to have an answer immediately. Then questions after questions are appearing on the many aspects of the object of your curiosity. This curiosity prods you to move, pushes you to move, as if you want to solve your problem immediately. You want to find answer to your problem. So you need to act or do something to find answers to your questions or to discover truths about your inferences or speculation on such object. So behaving like an investigator and asking and seeking answers to some of your questions about the thing you find puzzling indicate the true nature of your inquiry or research. So, inquiry versus research. This is just a review. You have taken this up in your grade 11, the difference and the similarity of inquiry and research. As a review, let's have the nature of inquiry and research. Now, one goal of education is acquisition of knowledge. However, education is not just stacking or putting knowledge into your brain, but it also encourages you to acquire knowledge for deeper understanding of the world. You want to dig deeper of the things that you have learned and understanding that inspires you to create, construct, or produce things for the betterment of your life and the rest of the world. Why betterment of your life? Because FYI, a researcher is one of the highest paid employee nowadays. So how are you be able to produce things, to construct, and to create? How is this possible? Inquiry is synonymous to investigation and research. And this is the answer to your problem. When you inquire or investigate, you ask questions to probe or examine something. You should ask questions or examine through higher order thinking strategies of inferential, analytical, critical, creative, and appreciative thinking to discover more understandable and meaningful things beyond such object of your inquiry. You should also ask open-ended questions to elicit views, opinions, and beliefs of others in relation to your research. What is an open-ended question? We should not ask questions that only answerable with yes or no, or what did you eat, but how do you eat? How do you manage your food, like that? So we have to ask an open-ended question. So before we go deeper, let's have first a pretest. This is how you understand in your previous lesson in Research 1. So I'll read for you. Number 1, so this is true or false. Read each item carefully. Write true if the statement is correct and false if it is not. 1. Quantitative research is formal, objective, and a systematic process for obtaining quantifiable information about the world. Is it true or false? Number 2. Quantitative research is used to describe and test relationships. Is it true or false? 3. Quantitative research is presented in textual form and no statistical analysis is being employed. Is it true or false? 4. Descriptive research tests for the relationship between two variables. Is it true or false? 5. Experimental research uses the scientific method to establish the cause-effect relationship among a group of variables that make up a study. Is it true or false? Right, let's find out from the next slide. Go back to your pretest if you have answered the questions correctly. Okay, we have here qualitative research. It focuses on understanding a research query as a humanistic or idealistic approach which generate non-numerical data. Qualitative research deals with words and meanings. Then it puts high value on people's ideas based on their answers, based on their personal traits. And the last one, qualitative research takes place in soft sciences like social sciences, politics, economics, humanities, education, psychology, nursing, and all business-related subjects. These are the only field in science that can use qualitative research. Okay, for quantitative research, it deals with numbers, figures, and statistics to denote a particular thing. It excludes your thoughts, own thoughts and feelings about the subject or the object. Quantitative research is characterized by its objectiveness. Only the real and the factual matters most to the researcher. Quantitative research is synonymous to experimental thinking. In quantitative research, problems are identified. Then it is theorized, hypothesized, analyzed, inferred, and created. And quantitative research is applicable in sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, and medicine. These are considered hard sciences. Okay. So before we go to the characteristics of qualitative and quantitative research, we are going to have first a word play. I have prepared assembled letters, and you are going to rearrange the letters to form a word. Then if you have written the word correctly, you are going to consult the dictionary to look for their meaning. Okay, get ready with your pencil and paper. Okay, first word is okay, what's the word? All right, if you have taken it correctly, let us go to the next word. EEIIATFRNNL. What's the word? Okay, take it correctly. Next word. EEPD. Get it? Next word. COPRSSE dash DEEIOTRN. Okay, what's the word? Got it? Next word. CJOEEIBTV. Okay, what's the word? Next. IAEELPPXMNR. What's the word? Get it? Next. EEIVTSBJUC. What's the word? Okay, next. UAA SIICTTRNL. Did you get the word? Okay, next. PFI CSEIC. PFI CSEIC. Did you get it? Okay, next. OOAAL BNS RVTIE. OOAA LBN SR VTIE. Get a word? Next. EEE GLB NAA IZLLR. What's the word? Next word. All right. If you were able to form the word correctly, those words describe the characteristics of a quantitative and qualitative research. Okay, try to underline in your words words that may describe a qualitative research and check the words that may describe the quantitative research. All right, I'll give you a clue. 5 for qualitative research and 5 for quantitative research. Okay? Done? Okay. For the next slide, you are going to see the words that you have formed. Okay. So the table there shows the characteristics of qualitative and quantitative research. You see there 2 columns in the table. One column is for qualitative research and the other column is for quantitative research. All right. Were you able to form the word subjective, objective, observational, experimental, specific, deep, generalizable, naturalistic, process-oriented, and inferential? So, I told you to check the words that describe quantitative research and words that describe qualitative research. All right. How many words did you get correctly for qualitative research and for quantitative research? If you have given 5 to qualitative correctly and 5 to quantitative correctly, very good. You have done a great job today. So, we're going to discuss the table showing the characteristics of qualitative and quantitative research for us to distinguish each other. So, when we say subjective, qualitative research is subjective. What do we mean by subjective? It is based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste, or opinion. Of course, when personal feelings, you have to interview a person as your respondent for your research. Then, sub-objective for quantitative research. If qualitative research is subjective, then quantitative research is objective. And what does objective mean? If subjective is based on personal opinions or feelings, then objective is not based or not influenced by personal feelings or opinion. Hindi siya result ng opinion ng isang individual or isang respondent. Okay, let's go to the next. Holistic. Qualitative research is holistic. What is holistic? When we say holistic, it's general. In other words, qualitative research is general. Things are studied as a whole. Para bang generic. Kung sa pain reliever, holistic siya. But a specific brand for pain reliever is specific. Again, pain reliever is holistic, while a specific brand for pain reliever, if we will mention, let's say, biogesic, is specific. Another example for holistic is doctor of medicine. That's holistic. We're talking of the general. But when we say specific, we can say pediatrics. Specific yung pediatrics. Identified siya as for pedia. Okay. So that is holistic and specific. Then let's come to observational. Qualitative research is observational. What do we mean when we say observational? When we say observational, it is observed in a certain behavior. That's why qualitative research is, we can describe it as empirical. It's observed in a real situation. Whereas yung quantitative research, experimental. When we say experimental, you have two setups. We have the experimental setup and we have the controlled setup. You are testing hypothesis in the experimental. While in qualitative research, it is deep. Again, let's go back to holistic, as if general siya. It's general. While in quantitative research, it's basic. Then, qualitative research is single case analysis. What do we mean by single case analysis? This is based on understanding of people, subjective, experienced by collecting unstructured data. Single case analysis. Subjective, experience by collecting unstructured data. Most of the qualitative research are single case analysis. While in quantitative research, it is generalizable. Yes, you can generalize based on the result of your experiment. Okay, based on your controlled and experimental setup. Then qualitative research is naturalistic. When we say naturalistic, it is observable, real life. Yung nakikita mo sa isang tao, yung ginagawa niya. Let's say you are studying on the behavior. You have to observe how he or she behaves. So you have to observe what is true to her life. What is she doing? You have to observe that. That's why it is called empirical research, which is based on a real life situation. So that is naturalistic. Then, quantitative research is controlled. You have something that is controlled there. Like for example, if you are experimenting on the effects of guava leaves on the wound of an animal, for example. So you have to use for your experimental, you have to use the leaves of the guava in your experimental, so knowing the effect of guava leaves, while in your control, you will not use banana leaves. You can use water or you can use any other thing aside from the banana leaves. Okay, so there is a control there. Then for qualitative research also, it is descriptive. When we say descriptive, you are presenting your result descriptively or narratively. You are narrating what you have observed in a research result. Then, for quantitative research, it is inferential. When we say inferential, you are giving conclusions based on the evidence. Like for example, the example that I have given you on the effect of banana leaves on the wounds of animals, if using the banana leaves, the wound of an animal was cured, then you can say that you can infer that the banana leaves can cure wounds of animals. Okay? Then, qualitative research is process-oriented. What do we mean by process-oriented? So, process-oriented is only focused on the process or on the procedure, but not on the result. So, as if you have that feeling na kahit anong mangyari, as long as I have followed the process of the research, that should be it. No? So we are after following the process or the methodology that we have adapted in doing our research. But for quantitative research, they are focused on the outcome. They are focused on the result. That's why it's outcome-oriented. They are after the outcome. While on the other hand, the qualitative research, they are after on the process. Okay, the next is qualitative research is valid. When we say valid, totoo. Totoo. While in quantitative research, it's reliable. So what's the difference between valid and reliable? When we say reliable, it can be trusted. Can be trusted. And in good quality or performance. It is based on good quality. Good quality of work, good quality of research, and performance. So, quantitative research is reliable, while your qualitative research is valid. Valid siya, but cannot be trusted. Okay? So do you now have a clear idea about qualitative and quantitative research? So for quantitative research, it's objective, it's specific, It's experimental, it's basic, it's generalizable, it's controlled, inferential, outcome-oriented, and reliable. For qualitative research, it is subjective, it is holistic, observational, it's deep, single case analysis, naturalistic, descriptive, process-oriented, and valid. Okay, can we proceed? Right. Quantitative research have strengths and weaknesses. Strength or its usefulness. Good points or strong points of quantitative research over qualitative research. Number one, quantitative research provides a macro view or bigger view or wider view with all the required details and comparatively larger samples. So larger samples siya. That's why it can give a big overview of the required result of your research. Then, larger sample sizes enable the conclusion to be generalized. So since you have larger samples, bigger samples, so your result can be generalized as it is. Pwede mo siya na i-generalize because of your bigger samples. Now, when we say samples, those are the respondents whom you have gathered the data of your research. Okay? Number 3, evaluation of the multiple data sets can be done at once and that too at a faster pace and accurately. So you can easily evaluate the data because it is large, marami sila, or wider yung scope ng studies mo. So that's why you can immediately evaluate the data. Number 4, this method is called to be appropriate when there is a need of systematic and standardized comparison. So quantitative research is very appropriate research if you are going to compare, let's say, the effect of 2 medicines on the same ailment. You can use the quantitative research because this is systematic and you can easily compare that. So this method is appropriate when there is a need of systematic and standardized comparison because you can observe the relationships between 2 treatments, for example, or let's say experimental setups. All right. Number 5, the manual implementation of ideas can be automated completely, which can save time. So the implementation of ideas can be automated completely, which can save time. So kung nagmamadali, pwedeng gamitin ang quantitative research. So perhaps this is the type of research that was used in the production of the vaccine for the COVID-19 because nagmamadali na tayo. Okay? Now, let's come to the weaknesses. What are the weaknesses? If we have the strength, naturally, we have the weakness. And what are those weaknesses or mga kahinaan? Kahinaan ng quantitative research. Or in other words, the disadvantages of using a quantitative research. Number one, quantitative research reveals what and to what extent, but fails to answer more on how and why. So, that can reveal the what and to what extent. Kung baga, what causes and how far is the cause, or to what extent does this ailment affect, for example, the Filipino people. Okay, like for example, uh, dengue. What causes dengue, and to what extent has dengue fever affected the total population of a certain community? But it fails to answer why. Why does it cause that way? Or it, how did it spread in the community? So, quantitative research reveals what and to what extent, but fails to answer more on how and why. Okay? Number two, this type of research require a model performance to be monitored on constant basis in order to ensure its compliance with the original hypothesis. Okay, I'm going to give you an example for this one. Monitored on constant basis in order to ensure its compliance with the original hypothesis. So, for example, you are conducting a research on, let's say, plants, the effects of urea on the flowering of the plants. So, of course, you have two setups here. Plants that will be receiving urea and plants that do not receive urea. So both of this group of plants, you will be monitoring this every now and then. You have to check it every day. You have to monitor it. You have to put all the requirements needed by the plants in order to survive, like for example, soil, water, sunlight. So you have to monitor that on a constant basis and to ensure its compliance with the original hypothesis. For example, the plants with urea, the group of plants with urea and the group of plants without the urea, you have to check every day baka there are some extraneous variables that happen there in that setups. Perhaps dogs have urinated on both of the plants. So that would affect your research. Or perhaps one group of plant did not receive sunlight the same as the other group. So you have to expose both the group of plants to the same sunlight. So that's why that needs a constant monitoring so that your original hypothesis would not be altered. Okay? Number three, the impression of homogeneity in a sample may turn out to be fake in this method. So, impression of homogeneity. is fake in this method? Now, when we say homogeneity, that means all in one, all of the same kind. State of being all the same. So, wala yan sa quantitative research. Wala yan sa sinabi natin, ay pareho na yan, the same na yan, the same character na yan, the same result na yan. Wala yan sa quantitative research. Okay, number 4, this method involves limited number of quant supply and also involves complex discipline. In other words, if we engage in quantitative research, there are limited number of experts in analyzing and managing quantitative data. So limited number of quants. When we say quants, these are the experts in analyzing and managing quantitative data. So those are the weaknesses of the quantitative research. So we hope we consider this in our upcoming research 2 class, especially in the formulation of our research topic. Okay? So, for our concept evaluation, let me check if we have understood our discussion for today. All right. So, you are going to explain your understanding of inquiry and research. Number 1, you are going to compare and contrast inquiry and research. When we say compare, you are going to give similarities, and contrast, you are going to give their differences. Okay? Number 2, which is easier to carry out, inquiry or research? Give reasons for your answer. Next, number 3, how can a researcher be a scientist? 4, could inquiry and research go together? Explain your answer. Then number 5, have you had an application of inquiry and research in your life? Describe. You may submit your answer on a piece of paper or in our Google Classroom. I'll be sending you the code of our Google Classroom. So that's all for today. Let's call it a day. Good afternoon.